What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to another episode of Domestic Imports. My name's Preston, as always, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what to look for in a project car. So with saying that, hang on, buckle up, and stay tuned because here we go. Okay, so you want to buy a project car and you don't know really where to start. You know some stuff, but not a whole lot. Pretty much this video is mainly for beginner enthusiasts that don't know a whole lot about projects. Something that I went through personally whenever I started on my Honda. But pretty much in saying that, today I'm going to be talking to you guys what I think is important when buying a project car. So the first thing I like to start off with is your budget. Like, whenever I say budget, I mean like money that you're gonna spend on this car. Let's say, for instance, you are a high schooler and you just started out, you know, getting into cars and all that. You probably won't have a lot of money saved up. You know, that can affect on what you want to get. Now, I'm not talking about the high schoolers that, you know, that's mommy's and daddy's money that, you know, they're using it towards their car. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that are actually spending their own money. With saying this, as a high schooler, you're probably going to get something on the low end of the spectrum. As in, you know, like a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla or a Cobalt or something along those lines. Something that's cheap. Everybody has one. You know, a typical common car. And you're probably not thinking of like a 350Z, a Camaro, or a Subaru WRX. Those are more in the high-end spectrum than the low end. If that's what you're thinking about getting as your first car, you know, unless you save a lot of money while you're in high school, and you have that money to just put down on a new car or put down on, you know, just buying it used, 9 times out of 10 it's more likely gonna be not true. And I hate to say it, but you know, it is what it is. But let's just say that you saved up 10K, you've worked hard shoveling snow or raking leaves, you know, and I don't know what kind of business you'd be doing, but like, you know, you saved up all that money to get this car. Along those lines, you have some wiggle room that you can sort of manipulate on how much a car is going to be versus how much you're going to put into the car. If you have this money, you know, it's a great tactic to have because you can figure out what you want to do with that project car with that money too, or without worrying about, okay, well, I need to get this and this running and it's going to take me 3 months just to get one part, when you can get all of it at once and work on it collectively. And let's just give some examples out here. Like, say for instance, you want to build a drag car and the car that you find is $4,000. With saying that you have saved up, you know, well, the money that you saved up that was $10,000, you take $4,000 away from it, you're left with $6,000. Now you have $6,000 to throw into this car and be in a safe zone. And then you can look at the other side of the spectrum. Let's say, for instance, you find a car that fits what you're looking for. That costs $9,000. With saying that, if you have $10,000 saved up in the bank, you only have $1,000 left to put into this car. To me, money is a big part of the project car and what you want to do with it. You know, whether it be put new tires on, suspension, engine mods, even lights, stereo system, stuff like that. You know, it's a good way to budget it. The second thing I'd recommend on figuring out for your project car is what kind of car you prefer to have. Whether it be a import car or a domestic car, or if you're not worried about those things, whether it be a front-wheel drive car, all-wheel drive car, rear-wheel drive car, and to go with the all-wheel drive, the four-wheel drive too. They're pretty much the same thing, just, you know, one can turn into two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. The other one is all-wheel drive all the time. From what I've researched, the front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and all-wheel drive / four-wheel drive cars come in imports and domestic cars nowadays. Pretty much with the front wheel drive cars, the platform, you can mainly use it for drag racing, mountain runs, sprints, endurance runs, and that's pretty much it that I found out. They aren't really typically great for drifting, but where the engine's up front and you have both the motor sitting on top of the wheels, makes it an excellent platform for a lot of traction, especially if you go for something like a Civic that has a J35 in it that weighs, 600 pounds. That's 600 pounds of force on those tires. It's not going to, lift up off the ground. I mean, if it does, then there's something completely wrong, but that's, besides the point. For the drifting part of the front wheel drive cars, you really can't drift them. You can somewhat drift them in the rain, but it's not plausible. It's more of a power slide than it is a drift because, the momentum and all that, like from what I've learned and all that, you pretty much, if you want to drift it, you're gonna have to get some plastic trays or something underneath the back tires and lock up the e-brake, and that way you can go sliding wherever. It's not a Hoonigan type deal, but I don't know what to call it. But anyways, that's the only way that I found out that you can drift front wheel drive cars. Now, speaking of drifting cars, the rear wheel drive application is a fantastic platform for drifting, where you have the tires in the back. It's a lot less weight back there, and they're easily to slide, where you got most of the power going, and you have the traction of motor usually sitting up front to hold the wheels down. Rear wheel drive platform also is great in mountain runs and drifts, drag racing, drifting with just a regular circuit drift, like Formula Drift and all that. You got sprints, some rally racing. I know there's some that are out there that are rear wheel drive, and then endurance runs. Pretty much that's a good platform to start with if you want to do something with a big variety. Ta-da! So pretty much the rear wheel drive cars have a good reputation of doing things, a majority of things. And back in the old days, rear wheel drives were mainly in V8 cars, like the Nova, the Bel Air, stuff like that. You didn't really see a lot of front wheel drive cars until like the late 80s when Japan was bringing them over. Then everybody else started to do that, but the V8 cars were great for the drag strips and road drags, which, I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing, but it's up to you. I'm not responsible for you doing that, so just putting that out there. And then you have, with the rear wheel drive, you have the all-wheel drive / four-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive is the cars excel in rally racing, mountain runs, drag racing, and also with the four-wheel drive cars and trucks, they could go off-roading, rock crawling, stuff that a lot of front wheel drive and rear wheel drive cars really can't go because they don't have traction on all four wheels. That's what makes them perform better in those situations. So you have a little bit of information of what they actually do just to get you started and what you feel like you're going to be interested in. And with saying all that, if you're going to be doing a platform for a show car or truck, really it doesn't matter what, if you have all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, etc. A show car, pretty much what it does is it's just you're showing the car off. You're not really taking it to drag racing, you're just making it look pretty. I hate to say it like that, but that's how it is. After that, you guys, you pick whatever platform you want to go with and all that. And the third part of the build that I think is important to me is time. I wish I knew this ahead of time. I was pretty much thinking, okay, I could get this done in 3 months and be good. Well, also, I don't know what I'm doing most of the time whenever I'm working on my Honda. So that 3 months turns into a year, turns into 3 years, and then, so on and so forth. Because I'm working, don't know what I'm doing, and have to research it, which takes most of the day, or it's just I don't have the parts for it. So let's say, for instance, you're a kid and you're not going to school, as in like it's the summertime, high school's out, and you're doing some small jobs like, I don't know, mowing yards, getting a little bit of dough in, and it's not really taking up all day. You have a lot more time to work on a project car to a point than you would if somebody was working like 5 days a week and 9 to 5 schedule, and they only get 2 days off to do everything that they need to do, as in housework, mowing the yard, stuff like that. Pretty much you need to plan out what you want to do to it. If you want to have a drift car, a drag car, show car, what you want to do with it. If you're gonna do something simple like brake works, tire change, stuff like that takes a day if you know what you're doing. If not, it may take a day or two. But if you're doing an engine swap like I am in my Honda, I don't know what I'm doing. That engine, the F23A, is not meant to be in that car, period. But I've seen somebody else do it, and I thought I could do it. And it was a cheap motor. That's where the budget came in. So it's taken me over, I think, 2 years to complete this build. And I thought I could get it done in 6 months. But also at the same time, I was working with a job and blah, 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 blah. I don't need to talk about this. But yeah, like, time is very important to working on a project car. You can't just stop what you're doing and not work on it constantly. You also got to think about your life. If you have a significant other, then you got to spend time with them and all that, and you just got to balance everything. That's the key that I found out, is balance and everything. Is it's hard to do, but once you get into that rhythm, then everything's smooth sailing. And also, make time with your friends that may know about this car than you. Like, I ask my buddy all the time, Eric, if on questions about Hondas and stuff. He knows a little bit more than I do. So I go and ask him about stuff, whether it be electrical or, hey, what kind of tires do you think I should put on the car? Something along that effect. I ask my buddies for. I ask them for help, and there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes I'll go help him with the car, his cars and all that, and he'll come help me with mine. That takes time, and you got to make sure that they're available, and you don't want them to just stop what they're doing just to come help you, But it's also okay to do it by yourself. In saying that, I've pretty much done this whole build by myself, and it may seem impossible at first, but let me assure you that it's not. It's just gonna take a lot more time, a lot more headaches, aggravation, but it's not impossible. But it's also not easy either. That's just how it is. But pretty much the last part I would recommend for your project is, seeing what parts are out there. Like, say for instance you have a 1960s BMW of some sort, and you want to build the engine, make it go faster and stuff. I know for a fact that BMW is going to be a little bit on the expensive side, and trying to find parts, OEM parts, to make it better is hard to find, especially that year. Now the newer stuff, you can swap motors and all that, you could do that, but also that goes back to what I was saying about knowing the car and all that. But with the 1960s car, let's say for instance you have a 90s EG hatch Civic, a lot of parts, or better yet, a EF like mine, a lot of those parts that you find are hard to come by, like the dash. I'm having trouble finding one of those that's a good price. A dash, doors, and all that. But like there's other stuff that can be interchanged with newer Civics. I did a rear disc conversion on mine, and it took a 96 trailing arm bolted right up to it, and the only thing I had to get was a longer e-brake cable. But in saying that, you could still find OEM parts for that car. Suspension, obviously rims. If you're sticking with the original motor, you can find parts all day long for that motor, radiator, etc. But also in saying that, you also got to look at where you're located at. If you're located in a highly populated area, you're gonna find a whole lot more parts with certain cars than you would if you're like me, living out in the middle of nowhere and you have to drive 45 minutes to an hour almost to go to a junkyard. You know, you got to know what's in your area, what kind of cars are driving in your area, what's, you know, you got to look into that. And I wish I had websites or stuff like that that would tell me, you know, like stuff like that. But pretty much if you live in a high populated area, 9 times out of 10 you will find what you need. But anyways, so I hope that this video, it will help you guys branch out, get a little bit more comfortable with. I wish I had something that would tell me, hey, look at this video, you know, before I started on this project. If that was the case, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just tried to get another engine like I originally had. But also I've learned a lot during this process, and that helped me become a better mechanic in the long run than me just going a shortcut. Also, as like a side notes and stuff like that, don't be afraid to get with a group or a community on the internet or Facebook, Instagram, etc. What I mean by that is, you know, I'm with a group called EF Nation, and they're a really great group, and I could go on there and look at all the different builds and stuff and get inspired by something. Or if I have a question about my car, I could just go on there and type in, hey, you know, blah 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 blah, and 10-15 people will try to help me out. And don't be afraid to ask questions on there. I know it seems intimidating that there's hundreds of thousands of people on this group, but they're there to help you. Sorry, don't know where that came from. But they're there to help you, and you get occasional jerks here and there, but that's with anywhere you go, honestly. And also, whenever you go to pick up your project car, whichever one you figure out is the best one for what you want to do, make sure you bring somebody with you. That is very important, because you don't know what the other person is going to be like. You don't know if it's going to be a scam and they're just going to rob you. I mean, that could happen, but realistically, probably not. But also, they could help you dig out the car. Let's say, for instance, it's in a barn and it's, you know, they have to dig out the car itself, you know. Stuff like that. You need an extra buddy or two to come with you. And I'm not saying that the people that you're buying from are bad people. I'm just saying, you know, there are people that will scam you. So just be careful of that. And also, you can either rent a trailer from U-Haul. I've done this multiple times. So you can buy a trailer, which sometimes, depending if you're going to do this for a living, like to flip cars, it's a good investment to have. But you can rent them, you can borrow them from a friend if they have one, and make sure you bring plenty of straps and anything else that you might need, like ramps, boards if it's a low car, and spare tires. If, you know, like say for instance you buy this car and they're like, well, I'm keeping the rims, you know, you're gonna have to bring your own tires, and you know, you're gonna have to bring stuff like that. So pretty much this is the end of the video. I hope that I've answered some questions that you guys might be asking yourself. So if I did, please leave a like on this video. If not, send me a comment, you know, in the description below, and or in the comments below, not the description, jeez. I'll get back to you when I can. You know, it's no biggie. I don't mind at all. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I really want to, you know, try to make more videos and inspire you guys to, you know, start your own projects and stuff. And so I'm always doing something new and all that. But please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next video. Be safe and peace.